Ontario's newfound status as Ford Nation is getting mixed reactions at City Hall, ranging from dire predictions of stormy, combative days for Toronto to sunny optimism for the city. Doug Ford's election is terrible news for the residents of our city, said Councillor Joe Cressy, an NDP member whose area went, along with the rest of downtown Orange on Thursday night. There's no sugarcoating it. On every file of importance, whether it's affordable housing or minimum wage legislation or transit funding, this is a disaster. The election of Doug Ford and a PC government could have implications for issues at City Hall including transit, housing, social assistance and public health. Nathan Dennett, the Canadian Press. Cressy chairs the city's drug strategy implementation panel and has championed harm reduction services like supervised injection sites. The city has opened 4 supervised injection sites within existing community facilities downtown and 3 emergency overdose prevention sites in the midst of an ongoing overdose crisis, all of which receive their annual or 6-month operating funding from the province. That money is secured for this year. But with Progressive Conservative leader Ford saying he is dead against such sites, and a majority government at his command, their future is in question. My hope would be that the province maintains the ongoing funding for healthcare services in the face of the overdose crisis, Cressy said. What I would like to see is a scaling up in support. What I'm worried we face is a fight to protect what we have. Another staunch NDP Councillor Gord Perks, tweeted to the Ramparts, when it became clear Ford had a majority. He envisions a return to the trench political warfare and street protests that were part of Toronto activists' opposition to the 1990s Mike Harris PC government. I'm worried about all the areas where we have working relationship with the province, so transit, housing, childcare, social assistance, said the Parkdale councillor. It's going to be community-level organizing and protests for 4 years. It's going to be a very ugly 4 years. The Conservative platform has an $8 billion to $10 billion hole, and that's going to come out of things that affect the City of Toronto. Others suggested such worries are overblown, including Economic Development Chair Michael Thompson, who knows Doug Ford well from the 2010 to 2014 council term when Ford was an Etobicoke councillor and advisor to his brother Rob, the late former mayor. I think it's fantastic, Thompson said of Ford's big win. I'm hoping to work with him in a number of areas: economic development, addressing challenges the city is facing including transit and housing. I've had the chance to speak with Doug Ford during the course of the election. I think he has learned a lot, and as he has said, he is humbled by the faith people have placed in him. I'm encouraged that this government will be very much, as Doug said last night, that Ontario is open for business. There are great opportunities to reach out to him and bring forward some of our interests. I think it will be an easier sell because he has spent time here at City Hall as a councillor. I don't actually think there's going to be a drastic change in terms of some of the things people are worried about. Ford's nephew, Ward 1 councillor Michael Ford, told City News that Rob Ford always told his uncle Doug, "You're going to be premier one day." Michael Ford believes the new premier and Mayor John Tory will have a very collaborative relationship. Despite Tory beating Doug Ford in the 2014 mayoral election and past verbal sparring, Doug and John will get investments in Toronto, Michael Ford said. Doug will represent everyone. It doesn't matter if you are a New Democrat, a Liberal, a PC, a Green or an Independent. If you call the government, they're going to get back to you. On the transit file, TTC Chair Councillor Josh Cole, whose father, longtime Liberal MPP Mike Cole, lost to the PCs in Eglinton Lawrence on Thursday, worried Ford's election leaves both confusion and chaos. "My worry is it puts all the pencils and shovels down right now, and we can't afford to do that," Cole told CBC's Metro Morning host Matt Galloway on Friday. Cole noted many priority projects are currently underway, but Ford's promises plan to stall that progress. For example, the city has been moving ahead with a one-stop subway extension of the Bloor-Danforth line to the Scarborough town centre. Ford has promised to return that plan to a three-stop option that was dropped by City Council as costs ballooned. At last estimate, the three-stop subway would cost $4.6 billion, $1 billion more than the $3.56 billion in funding allotted to the project from all three levels of government. Ford has not said how he would cover that gap. The PCs have also not committed to a waterfront LRT, which has long been on the books and is one of the city's priority projects. Etobicoke Centre Councillor Stephen Holyday, whose father Doug Holyday was a steadfast Ford ally at City Hall, said he was happy with the outcome Thursday and an expansion of Ford Nation. Ford's election has weighed Holyday's hope that parts of the planned Eglinton West LRT will be buried, what he earlier pushed council to study further despite staff advice the increased costs were not justified. Ford said during the campaign that he'd like to see as much possible that the LRT lines planned in the city be built underground. Ontario PC leader Doug Ford wins a majority government. His staunch supporters praise him as a political outsider sure to shake things up at Queen's Park. The Canadian Press, "It's my hope that the outcome of this election is a positive step for getting more of that LRT buried," Holyday said Friday, acknowledging the added expense. "We hope that other orders of government will help us with these big projects. It's not clear how the PCs would pay for the costs of tunneling." Housing advocate Anna Bailow said she still expects the province to stick to its promise of $343 million for badly needed Toronto community housing repairs. The funding, to be delivered to this city over the next several years, was supposed to come from the Liberals' cap-and-trade system, which Ford has said he'll cancel. "If that money is not there anymore, I certainly hope the commitment is still there and I look forward to understanding how it's going to be provided to the city," said Bailow. Deputy Mayor and Councillor, Ward 18 Davenport, in the upcoming municipal election, Bailow said voters will be looking to elect strong advocates that aren't afraid to push all levels of government on issues like affordable housing, transit and poverty. "We need to take strong and bold action on a series of issues and we need strong actors at the table," she said. Bailow is running against Councillor Cesar Palacio for the redrawn Ward 16. Councillor Paula Fletcher, who is an East Downtown representative, helped fight the Ford's attempt to cut budgets and services at City Hall, hopes that Doug Ford won't make rash decisions. "Doug has been a city councillor. He knows how complicated City of Toronto is. I hope that's the side he'll come down on, not that it's an inefficient, poorly run place. He knows better than that," Fletcher said. "I think his experience at the city will give him an insight into being very careful on everything that he proceeds with." She doesn't expect Ford to try to seize control of the Portlands the way he did as city councillor, when his plan for a giant Ferris wheel and mega mall on the reclaimed East Waterfront was withdrawn by his brother's administration after a public outcry. "I would think that the plans are very much in place." Doug was part of the 2011 Portlands acceleration that was passed unanimously at council by him and his brother, and that's the plan that is being built out right now. "I wouldn't expect there will be very much interference in that all from the Ontario government. Premier Ford could have profound impacts on city programs and policies," Councillor Mike Layton, Ward 19 Trinity Spadina, warned. "If Doug does what he proposed in the election, Torontonians will likely be waiting longer for transit, seeing greater overcrowding in our shelter system, and a longer waiting list for affordable housing," Layton said. While the NDP had proposed legislation to improve pedestrian and cyclist safety, it's doubtful Ford will make it a priority, said Layton. Certainly wasn't when he was on City Council. Councillor John Campbell, who represents the Etobicoke ward where Ford lives, said he's fixated on the map of Toronto, showing a solid NDP sweep through much of the city apart from Etobicoke, North York and Northern Scarborough ridings which largely fell to the PCs. "I kind of hope that the mayor doesn't see this as a sign to lean to the left further than he already has," said Campbell, who considers himself a fiscal conservative. Toronto is really orange. Top stories, delivered to your inbox. New NEWSLETTERHEADLINESSIG and up.